Oh my gosh, yes. Nostalgia is like, it's always positive. I always think of the beautiful positive moments in nostalgia.
I know. There's about a 300-point difference between Cody and I, and it's in our family's credit scores, apparently, because that's apparently.
I'm like,
I mean, I could go outside, but let me tell you what it's like playing outside in a trailer park. It is not as fun and romanticized as they make it look like in some of the crime, mostly true crime movies that were out there on Lifetime.
So Cody's living this beautiful Hallmark movie life.
Welcome back to That's a Mouthful, where today we're getting cozy with nostalgia. Join us as we wander down memory lane, exploring those cherished and quirky childhood memories that shaped us. Stay tuned as we laugh and reminisce over the memories that make us who we are today. This is That's a Mouthful.
Hey everybody, and welcome. We thank you for joining us here for another episode. We're so glad that you could be with us. Today we're going to be talking about nostalgia. We finally are able to get all together because everybody, we brought on Bree again. Welcome, Bree, to the show once again. Oh, the crowd's going wild for you. So again, we thank you for joining us. As always, if you're listening to this, watch us on YouTube. You can actually see us. Bree did up her makeup. She looks amazing as always. Today, we're going to be talking about nostalgia, things that we remember from our past. Maybe a lot of our listeners have no idea what they are because Matt, as me, Bree, were talking about the other night, she was telling me that we basically have become elderly. And earlier, when we were trying to get recording, some things weren't going right. And I was trying to use Zoom because of our other platform wasn't working. And there was a lot of technical issues. And she was like, yeah, we're just old. Like, we can't even figure out technology now. It's just Zoom. Anyway, so we'll talk about nostalgia, things we remember that are kind of fun from our past, and how nostalgia in general, we think of things as being positive. We don't usually think of the negative parts of going back in time and past history. But we're going to start off with this little video clip. And I think this just kind of says it all about nostalgia and things of the past.
So, Savannah, Rebecca's going to ask you several questions about the 90s, 80s, or 90s.
Ask him.
Some of them may actually go back further than that. So, we just want to know your best answer, okay? Number one.
What were the yellow pages?
In the Constitution.
What's a Sega?
Sega?
Oh God.
Is that like an Indian tribe? I'm actually trying to not sound stupid right now.
What is a collect call?
Like, they call people together. Burnt CD, like they burn it.
Like how do they burn it?
Throw it in the fire.
What was MySpace?
Okay, that's what my mom used.
What is a vinyl?
Oh, the vinyl.
Alright, you gotta stop it.
Anyway, I think that's a good way to start nostalgia.
Okay, some of those things are still things.
So I think when I was looking at it, she was like, she's 17 or 18. And so, yeah, guys, we're to that point where people don't remember any of the things from our past.
Sometimes TikTok just makes me feel so ancient. And that's why I try to avoid it sometimes, or at least avoid that side of it. But
what are some things for you guys growing up that y'all remember when you were young that were just like something that brings back childhood that was fun? I know, like, something that I feel like everybody did, and that, like, it's weird that everybody across the country did it, but like you would have like erasers, those little pink erasers that were like rectangle, but it seemed like that kids would always just like try to like make holes in it with their pencil.
The pencil.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I remember that. Well, I remember my dad having like the pager or beeper every now and then. He didn't always have one, but I thought it was annoying. I hated that thing. But I think it was like a status symbol for, I think it was like the equivalent of the cell phone as far as status.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that damn thing was so annoying. I remember it would go off and my mom and I were like, God, dude.
Mhm.
I would have been 7 then.
Playing Snake on the Nokia brick phone.
I did.
What about when in elementary school, I remember it was you like fold paper a certain way and you would like use your fingers to go like back and forth, and then you would open it up, and I guess it would be some like, also you
the
like mash,
BLUE.
but yeah.
Oh my gosh, MASH. That's the name of it, Cody. Yeah, you would have different categories of things and everybody pick numbers and it would kind of fall and cycle into like some weird saying, like, and I forgot all about that. And you could, the fortune teller things, it was like folded up like a fortune teller. One thing I do remember that will take me right back is the smell of Aquanet, because my mom had a perm in the 90s. And my mom has very straight, very, very, like, it looks like we flat iron our hair in our family, like, but we don't, like, we just have straight hair. And my mom had real long hair. So with the perm, so the sound, one of the sounds I remember in the morning before going to school, we didn't have buses. My mom would walk me to school, is hearing the sound of like the hairspray, like in the bathroom, a room, like 2 rooms away or whatever. The, okay, honey, you ready to go to school? Like, and that was like the 10-second warning, get your backpack, it's time to go,
Another
thing,
like
lingering.
Yes, there's probably a hole in the ozone layer over Lima, Ohio, by the way. And then I saw another picture. It was like a picture. It looked like a class picture from like 1992. And of course, everybody's hair looks like that. And it said, if your high school picture, your senior picture looked like this, it's time to go get your mammogram and colonoscopies. And I'm like, well, okay. All right. My feelings hurt.
It's interesting, like when you talk about like getting older or the age, and you don't really realize it as you're growing older, like the difference. And I think one of the most interesting things that I heard the other day was the age of the actors on Friends, the current age they are, is how old the Golden Girls were when they first started that show.
That's correct.
Isn't that weird to think of? Like,
we've also learned a lot more about skincare. And we've also learned that a lot of products that were used that might have looked really good from far away, we've learned that just really just destroys, your hair and skin. Like the older you get, so you need more and more of it. So people end up doing the Queen Elizabeth thing where like they're destroying their skin and not realizing it. Whereas now we've learned about moisturizing and sunscreen and combinations of that and how much, because none of us look our ages.
Right.
And but the other thing on the nostalgia thing is that the older generations were not really as connected to each other, whereas we had MySpace as we were kind of in that 18 to 22 range. We started connecting with people as the older ones joined MySpace, Facebook, and then Instagram and Snapchat. The younger ones grew into it. So we see what they're doing. We see what our parents' generations are doing, unfortunately, at times, and vice versa. So whereas the older ones, I think they had these very distinct blocks of how they think and how they do things. We have that, but I think it's a lot more blurred. And I think that's healthier, because if we were still doing and taking care of ourselves the way we did at 10, 15, and 20, the way our family showed us how to, we would probably not be where we are. Like, it has become much more common for us to be able to march to our own, drums, essentially, because what has Twitter and social media shown us? It's allowed us to sift through thousands of people, and in a healthy mindset, it helps you find people that help support you and love you. Now, sometimes, like lovely people attract everybody. You just have to choose to give your attention to people who aren't toxic. But, and that can be hard to learn. And we all learn those lessons. Whereas now we learn them. We're not stuck with the friends that we grew up 3 doors down. They're not our best friends usually. They were 3 doors down for 25 years. So they know everything about us. And sometimes they're good people. And sometimes they were just literally 3 doors down. And if they were in the next town over, you never would have known they existed and you would have been fine. But now we can connect with people all around the world and support each other in all the different ways that we need to, because even if the person 3 doors down is your bestie and they are your ride or die, sometimes you need that person that hasn't seen you throwing up in a toilet at a party to kind of give you that feedback or that perspective, even if it was unintentional, that you desperately need, because we all need humbled sometimes. And that doesn't mean like kneecapping your friend. It can just sometimes mean being honest with each other, and that kindness and support that comes from just being exposed to all sorts of different people and realizing how not alone we are in this world, especially for our community. Like how much has social media done for us in terms of, we look back and nostalgia is it can be positive in the sense of, wow, I loved my Nintendo, but also it can be a negative, reminding us that, wow, we were really fucking lonely at times. I know, Cody, you had a fairly positive childhood experience. Like, you're always like, what do you mean roasted by your parents? I asked him this once, Bree. I'm like, have you ever been roasted by your mom by accident? He's like, no. My mom can roast me better than any 10 people I know, and she doesn't even try. Like that's nostalgia to me. And he's like, what?
Yeah, I think that it is true as far as like nostalgia, and that, a lot of times, people see the positive. There are some negatives that people have and that they remember from their past. But like when we speak of nostalgia in general, people usually think of it as a more positive tone. Even, things get like, I guess, as time goes on, things fade away and people allow them to fade away because they think of the more positive things.
Right.
The one thing I was thinking of the other day about this was like plantations, of how like so many people have such a more positive view of plantations, and they like have weddings there and Airbnbs, and they're doing all this stuff because they have the romanticized idea, like the Gone with the Wind romanticized idea of these plantations versus the actual realistic reality of what the situation was. Right. I think that happens a lot with nostalgia in everybody's life, but in the general bigger population, it has a tendency to forget some of those negatives that have happened and look more at the positives.
Great job of reminding us on TikTok.
Yes.
Just wrapping up here and looking back, do y'all remember like kid cuisines?
I do. Like, oh my gosh, the pizza one. The pizza, the mac and cheese, the dinosaur chicken nugget.
The dinosaur chicken nuggets.
Yes, that was my favorite. The dinosaur chicken nuggets right there.
And then like you have like school lunches, and like you'd have the pizza, which weirdly has remained exactly the same. I feel like school lunches.
How about the slab of pizza that's a slab of cheese, and you can just like almost see a reflection in the grease?
Yes.
Then we had the clear phones, the clear like pickup phones, everybody, not a cell phone.
I had one.
Now I never had one because I didn't have a phone. And then some people will know this one because you did like CDs. You would burn CDs, even though that girl didn't know what that meant. But mixtapes. Did y'all ever make a mixtape?
Not a tape, but this tape. Well, no, wait, I did. I recorded some stuff off the radio once. Just paid me out.
What was your experience, Bree, making a mixtape? Did you make it for somebody special?
No, I mean, they were just for myself. Sorry, my dogs are just deciding that now is the perfect time to torment each other. So it was just kind of for myself of like, I made my own little playlist back, before playlists were really a thing, of just my favorite songs that would come on the radio. I would like take some of my sister's CDs or like whatever, and like I would burn like this song and this one, then it would be great when I would like then completely ruin it because I decided to record over. It was a lot of traumatic moments of trying to like.
Well, that's right. They had the CDRWs too, because some of them, the CDRs you could burn, but the CDRWs you could rewrite over them over and over and over.
Yep.
Oh gosh, I still have I think it was like 2015. My previous car that I had post-divorce didn't have the aux cord, just did not want to work for nothing. So the CD player worked. So I went back to basics and burned a whole bunch of CDs. And I sat there with a Sharpie writing all the songs in a circle, like from the beginning. And I just,
Oh, yes. Like,
yeah, it's an art form. It is an art form. And I did not realize the muscle memory came right back.
they're great for like kind of like road trips or like
Mhm.
any kind of like.
In Florida, we drive to the beach. You know, Daytona Beach is an hour and a half away. Cocoa Beach was an hour away. I lived in Cocoa Beach for a year, and I lived in Orlando for 6, and I lived in Fort Myers for 8 growing up. So it was just CDs and beach trips were kind of the thing if you were with your friends. And now that I would say that's a positive nostalgic moment. I can't think of any trauma attached to that. It'll unrepress itself around 3 a.m. and I'll be like, damn it, Cody.
Dang it. I brought it up.
My therapist is making so much money off this podcast because of you.
Well, everybody, we just wanted to talk a little bit about nostalgia and some things that we remember. Obviously, me and Matt always talk about things on the podcast, and sometimes I feel like, or we've gotten messages of, wait, what are y'all talking about? What was that?
Yeah.
Oh, one random thing of nostalgia that I saw on Facebook because someone had posted like, oh my gosh, remember these? And did either of you get those like they were like those plastic bubbles, but it came from like that little tube and it came with a little straw.
Oh,
and you
yeah,
would, like,
and you could make your own like, bubbles.
Thing, and you would, but then you had to kind of like squeeze and stick the end of it, and it like smelled real like awful, and it was still kind of sticky, and then you would like mash it back down together, and you could re-blow it back up. And it was one of those things that you'd see on like a commercial or like in the back of a magazine that you would like call and order.
I just saw.
I forgot all about the call and order stuff, like GAC and Play-Doh, like the specialty stuff and stuff like that.
Guys, here's the deal. Like,
Smells.
you know, I know every generation says this about their generation was the best generation, but here's the deal. I really feel like when we were young, our I'm going to speak for myself, Matt.
Yeah.
But I think my time as a kid, that period, again, like I'm saying, the elementary period of time and things that were going on, the toys that were out there, and technology being there a little bit, but not fully how it is now, I think was like the perfect time, honestly. Like, you know, kids these days are always on their phones or their tablets. They're not really going outside and like doing stuff. Thankfully, like with COVID and stuff, like gardening and different things like that did bring families together to do stuff outdoors. But I do remember just like
area you could go outside, because I didn't. Like,
I mean,
it was inside.
Like,
Disney Plus.
I mean, I could go outside, but let me tell you what it's like playing outside in a trailer park. It is not as fun and romanticized as they make it look like in some of the crime, mostly true crime movies that were out there on Lifetime.
So Cody's living this beautiful Hallmark movie life,
and I'm over
like, oh
here
my
like,
gosh, gardening with the family.
This is our dichotomy of me and Matt.
Oh my gosh, yes. Nostalgia is like it's always positive. I always think of the beautiful positive moments in nostalgia.
I know.
Like,
there's about a 300-point difference between Cody and I, and it's in our family's credit scores, apparently, because that's apparently.
I'm like,
Well, as we know,
I flash back on a lot of
He's like, and we took family trips to Disney, and I'm like, oh my God, we got the Disney Channel free for 2 weeks of summer.
Okay, I did not go to Disney until like more recent time in the late 2000s. I was like in past college and everything, and that's when I actually first met Bree and then took over her life.
And then Cody's all like, I know who, like, oh my gosh, I know so much, and like I know my family's names, and I'm all like, I don't.
Well, everybody knows.
If I'd known this, I would have worn a shirt that said "Straight Out the Trailer Park." It would have been much funnier.
Yeah, you already know our dichotomy of me and Matt and our lives growing up being different, and me aiming for this, like, and I've mentioned this before on our holiday episodes, how I want my not necessarily Halloween, but my Thanksgiving and Christmas to be very Hallmarky. I need it to be exactly like it is, and if it's not, If it's not, I get very upset. And we also
Yeah.
did mention this earlier.
All you need, I'm going to show up as the homophobic aunt for Christmas, you know?
When we didn't have a lot of shows in the spring because of my anxiety. And then I was talking to a therapist, and that did get brought up of me wanting to have these like very like, if it's a date or if it's like Christmas or Thanksgiving, these very perfect Hallmark holiday, exactly nothing wrong kind of situations are not possible, and you can't get upset about each of those little things. But
Cody's
anyway,
like, but I will try.
I'm gonna try.
But you do so good. And then like other times you sent me pictures and I've been like, Cody, I mean, because obviously his decorations are just right there. And Cody,
Yeah,
it
he's
looks
cute.
amazing. I can see all this work you put into it. And you're like, fucking pillow's out of place. You know?
I can't with this. It's
Couch
horrible
flipped.
looking.
You know?
It's just something I threw together, whatever. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna redo it anyway.
Some fucking soiree I threw together. It's like a 47 person like sushi dinner out on the back patio that they just completely rebuilt and redid.
Right.
It's an oasis with its own fucking name and zip code. He's like, piece of shit. Look at that.
You know. Well, everybody, thank you for joining us for this episode. Of course, if you're listening to this, you could go back and watch us and see all of our actual reactions on YouTube. Or if you're wanting just to listen to us, you can check us out wherever you get your podcast. Again, we'll be back next week. And again, thank you, Bree, for joining us, y'all.
Thank you, Bree.
We very much appreciate you always coming on the show. And again, everybody loves you. They just
Oh my
want
gosh,
more.
I know. I always
How
get
can you
messages.
not?
It's true. It's true.
You know, I tried to get more, but you were like, nope.
Well, maybe you'll get me more now.
She's like, that will cost you.
You gotta book me.
Book her. She's booked and blessed.
Booked and blessed.
Okay, everybody. We will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to That's a Mouthful. If you loved what you heard today, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to keep up with all our latest episodes. And we've got more than just episodes. Join us on social media to be part of our vibrant community and keep the conversation going. Follow us, dive into discussions, and share your thoughts. Want to support the show and get some fabulous perks? Check out our Patreon page. Your support helps us bring even more great content and keeps the party going. Every bit helps, and we truly appreciate it. So, until next time, keep that mouthful.